Okay, so we all know that the internet is full of stimulating things that can really wear out our reward system and make us numb if you overuse it. So here are a couple of things for you to consider to avoid desensitizing yourself. Create dopamine-focused windows. This means restricting the time spent on stimulating activities to specific periods or windows of times during the day. For instance, you could establish a rule where you only visit social media platforms during specific time windows, such as, for example, between 2 to 4 p.m. and then again from maybe 7 to 8 p.m. By following this schedule, you'll be doing your dopamine system a tremendous favor. First, because by doing this, well, you obviously reduce the sheer amount of cheap dopamine blasting your reward system, and thus you reduce the risk of getting desensitized. Now, listen up, because here comes something interesting. Did you know that studies have been conducted on rats where one group was given unlimited access to cocaine 24/7, and then another group had restricted access to the drug during specific windows of time? Interestingly, the group with continuous access quickly escalated their use and developing tolerance, which, by the way, is desensitization. In contrast, the group with restricted access did not increase their usage. This suggests that they didn't completely wear out their reward system, at least not as much as the other group. Now, of course, both groups hurt themselves badly because using drugs is incredibly unhealthy. But it still shows the power of restriction and limited access and use. And so now you say, but cocaine is not the same thing as scrolling social media, for crying out loud. And of course you're right about that. However, there are still some similarities because cocaine is a stimulant drug and it increases the levels of dopamine in the brain. And all of my long-term subscribers already know that that is what online scrolling does as well. It stimulates you and releases quite a lot of dopamine. Of course, it's not identical to substance use, but the information is still valuable. So if you create a rule for yourself that you are only allowed to use the more stimulating things online during certain windows of the day, you will for sure mitigate the potential negative effects it may have on you. You can even use apps and blockers to help you with this. I personally use an app called Lock Me Out on my phone, and on my desktop I use an app called Freedom. And no, I am not sponsored by any of those. These are just apps I use myself. And I have dopamine-focused windows like this. And the most valuable thing I do is to block access at least 2 to 3 hours before I go to bed. Now, I'm not perfect all the time with this, but most days of the week I really try to do so. Because did you know that if you do that, you help calm everything down, become more mindful, and thus your serotonin levels increase a bit. And here's the cool part. Did you know that serotonin actually helps to refill your readily available pool of dopamine? Yes, every one of you should realize that dopamine is a non-infinite yet renewable resource. So when you slow everything down, it starts to refill. And when you sleep as well, which is great because then you have more motivation, energy, and drive to work on your goals the following day. Here's another valuable tip for you. When you then finally go to your dopamine windows and allow yourself to use the online world, the more intent you can have, the better. So what do I mean by this? Well, the more you can decide in advance what you are going to do there, and then you stick to that for however long you decide, and then you avoid getting dragged along by other dopamine distractions. Well, the more you can do this, the better. This way, you are using your device instead of the device using you. Now, here I have to say, no one is perfect with this. It is truly a skill that all of us can train and get better at. Start practicing getting good at being disciplined online. And you can test your progress every now and then by asking yourself, am I using my phone or is my phone using me? Or your laptop or tablet or whatever. This is how you can take back control of yourself and avoid getting desensitized. And if you want to check your current state of your dopamine system. You can find a fun dopamine quiz I made a while back, and there's a link to that quiz under the video. And of course, it's 100% free to take. And speaking of dopamine, did you know that there is a relatively new serious study showing some pretty amazing effects of taking a break from using online porn? Yes, it's really interesting, and I recently made a video about that where I reveal the results of that study. You can see that video on the screen right here. Just click on that and it'll take you there. This is Scandinavian Bob signing out for today. Keep going and stay strong.